everyone. Welcome to the kids section of our Elim digital conference. So my name is Emma Bacon and I am the full-time children's worker at Elim Coventry Church. And I also have the pleasure of overseeing Limitless kids nationally currently. So I'm joined here by 5 amazing children's workers who, along with so many other children's workers, have literally gone above and beyond to reach children online. So hey guys, give us a little wave. Now I know that technology and social media is not everybody's strong point, but we hope that throughout this video we can share with you some things that we've been doing, inspire you and equip you to go forward in your online content with your children. So just to give a little bit of an introduction to who we have here. So we've got Naomi from City Church in Swansea. Hey Naomi.
Hi.
We've got Emma Price from Living Waters Church in Chorley. Hey Em.
Hi there.
We've got Mim from Rediscovered Church in Exeter. Hey Mim.
Hi.
We've got Shiv from City Gates Church in Ilford. Hey Shiv. And finally Sam from Life Central Church in Howzone. Hey.
Hello.
Hey, representing the guys for the kids workers.
Token male.
So we're going to go over to Mim firstly. So Mim, thank you for joining us today. I've been looking at some of your content over this past week and absolutely love what you're doing. There's some real creative stuff that you're putting out there, and I can see you're like really putting yourself into these crazy costumes and all sorts. But your kids' work is called Discoveryland, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
So can you just share with us briefly a little bit about your journey of moving on to Kids Church online and any advice that you would give to people thinking about starting online kids ministry?
Yeah, great. So for us, we just started literally in bedrooms during the first lockdown last year. So it was myself and Jay on a screen in our bedrooms, and we just would go to a Bible story. We managed to get loads of interaction from the church members, which was amazing across the board. So depending on our week's topic, if we were doing prayer or we were doing the Holy Spirit, we would just WhatsApp out to our church and say who would love to send in a video about this subject, and then we would put that in. So it was so lovely to have members of all ages from our church part of our episodes, but we just basically gave it a go, and that would be my biggest bit of advice to everyone: just give it a go. So from our bedrooms, when lockdown eased, we started going out a bit more into the world, and as Emma said, putting on wild costumes and gallivanting around Devon, and just creating some really fun sort of episodes, no longer live, we do pre-record now, but just really fun, really interactive, trying just to bring joy and laughter to the families, make them as all ages we possibly can, and that's my advice really. Just there's such an opportunity for us to do stuff that we never thought we'd be doing. Try it. You can't get it wrong really, because there's no line to kind of measure it against. So we've done some cracking episodes. We've done some ones that were like, oh, that didn't quite work. We've just given it a go. And it's just, I think one of the biggest feedbacks we've had from our families is actually it helps the families feel connected to church, which is another reason why I think just give kids work a go. We've got so many churches are now doing online stuff and doing live services, which is amazing. But if you could just have, it's only 15 minutes. If you can just have a little snippet of something directly at the kids or the families, it really helps them feel they're still getting that direct access to church. And it's just a cracking laugh, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely love that advice of just giving it a go, like literally taking what you have, give it a go, and the journey of do it in your bedroom, in your front lounge, in your garden, and then if you want to expand, go out into the community and film out there. And so I absolutely love that. Thank you so much, Mim. So Em, you for me are literally one of the most creative people that I know. And over lockdown, the first lockdown especially, the content that you and Martin were putting out literally helped me get through lockdown. So I'd wait for every Friday to see you or Martin have something thrown over your head. So it was amazing. Can you just let us know a little bit about your content that you've been putting out and your thoughts behind what you did and why you did it, and any advice that you would give to children's workers who want to increase their creativity?
I think especially that first lockdown, it was kind of probably felt a little bit more thrown upon us than this has kind of become. We're adapting now. But that first lockdown, it was literally thrown upon us. And suddenly it was, what can I do to stay connected with the kids in church? We don't know how long this is going to go on for. And especially that first lockdown, certainly even as an adult, I felt a little bit fearful and uncertain. And it was a very strange feeling nationally. And so I was really conscious. We were really conscious that for the children, it would be perhaps very much the same. So we wanted it to be fun. We wanted to give them a reason to have a really good giggle. And that, as much as anything, was as important as the message that went alongside it. And then we were restricted in the sense that we were literally, like Mim said, making it up as we went along. The favourite phrase now is we were winging it, but professionally. And it was, what have we got? You know, it's that literally that thing of, what's God given me in my hands? What can I use? So what did we have in storage? I think when we started, the end of the challenge, it started off a really simple challenge where we had lots of different activities, a bit of a crackerjack kind of idea, lots of different things happening. The weather was nice, so we filmed in the garden. And it was whatever we could do with one camera on a phone, and then it took to 2 cameras on a phone. And literally, as we went along, it was, what could the forfeit be at the end? What could the challenge be at the end? And of course, it had to be whatever we had in the house. So when we first started, it was a combination, I think, 1 week of flour, maple syrup, baked beans, things like that. And then we were really conscious of the fact that there were all these food shortages and people were queuing outside supermarkets to get their groceries. And it was kind of, I can't throw baked beans on my head anymore because somebody needs those beans.
Yeah.
And so it was whatever we had left over. And then that turned into, let's get some gunge bought online. And then we started making vast batches of gunge in the shed.
Wow, that's crazy. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I think that it's so good to use what you've got in your hands, like literally like look around. And I think what you said about the children having something that they can just laugh at, something that they can just have fun, and that's exactly what you guys embedded. Like, I would really recommend you guys going to check out Emma Martin's content that they're doing on their page. Is absolutely amazing. Thanks, Em. And speaking of creativity, Sam, I know that you've done some holiday clubs online, and I remember seeing a video, a particular warm-up video where someone was dressed up as Super Mario. Is that right?
Yeah. So for about 10 years now, I've been making warm-up songs, so taking like secular music, maybe a couple of Christian songs, mixing them up, just editing on GarageBand, and then basically making a video with some characters dancing. And just honestly, all kids that I've ever worked with have loved them. So yeah, we did a holiday club in August. It was our first ever online holiday club. And we've got another one planned for February half term as well. So in August, obviously the rules were a little bit different. So we did 3 days online on YouTube, pre-recorded videos, and we did like a collection day. So the families could drive to church, basically come into our car park. We had loads of team there, socially distanced, dressed up. We had a Sonic the Hedgehog, Pikachu, Mario was there. And basically they'd drive into the car park. It was a bit of fun. We'd squirt them with water pistols, throw balls at their parents' car, just kind of see whatever we get away with. And then they pick their packs up for the week. And in those packs were 3 crafts. There was like a bouncy ball, an ice pop to put in the freezer, loads of different ideas. And basically they picked those packs up, and we gave parents a little pack as well. So there was a tea bag to make a cup of tea and some biscuits and just like a little information thing about how to basically connect with the holiday club. But obviously this time is a little bit different. So we're not doing the collection. We're going to deliver packs. We either deliver them or post them. We're going to do 3 days online. So it's all pre-recorded, but premiere. If you haven't premiered videos, I'd really encourage you to think about that. It's a great way to get that live connection, but actually still having a pre-recorded video. So you pre-record your video, upload it to YouTube, set it as a premiere, and then it means that you get a live chat. So what we'll do in February half term is the video will premiere, and I will sit at home and I'll be on the live chat, chatting to the kids as the holiday club session premieres.
How did you find the engagement of that on the last one that you did it? Like, did you manage to get feedback from parents and children? How did you get the feedback? Because I know that sometimes doing online content, it can feel like you're putting out online content and you don't actually know how much you're getting back, and then you can feel like, what's the point? So what advice would you give to people who are kind of feeling that way of not getting any engagement?
Yeah, I think, like I said, the premiere in it really helped. So it meant, like, rather than just looking at the video and going, oh, there's 30 people watching, I've no idea who that is. You know, when you've got the live chat there and the kids are commenting and saying, oh, you know, and we did games that were interactive. So it was quite a lot to think about, right? How do you pre-record a game that then kids can interact with live, but it's not live? So that took a bit of thinking, but we managed to do it. And so that interaction, you could see what kids were on. Obviously, we did a sign up, so we charged £2 a pack, but they got a lot of stuff for that £2, and parents were really appreciative of it.
Do you have another warm-up song for this next holiday club?
So I am in the process of making a new one. Yes. Yeah. So awesome. So far we've got the twist, we've got the surf, and the Mario one was called the floss. And yeah, we're making a space themed one because that's the theme for our holiday club. So yeah, that will be coming out soon.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks so much, Sam, for that. And Naomi. Hey, Naomi. So again, Naomi is doing some amazing stuff with her children at City Church. And I've absolutely loved watching her videos along with Katrin, who is a part of her team. And I know there's been many evenings in Saturday nights where we've communicated because we're having tech fails, or things aren't uploading, or the issues of editing, or just the last minute dropouts. So Naomi, I know there's a lot of people who haven't really attempted online kids church because of the reasons of not having proper cameras, not having the right software, or feeling like they don't have the ability to edit or put anything out there. So could you just let us know a little bit about your process of using tech equipment and editing, and any advice that you would give to people who are feeling that way?
Yeah, cool. So I want to start off by saying that I'm living proof that you do not need to be an expert when it comes to editing at all, because before lockdown, I just about knew how to use my phone. So if God can use me, trust me, he can use you.
Amen.
Yeah. But I think like anything, when you're learning from scratch, as you learn how to use it, you kind of add to the basic foundation of what you know. And that's kind of what's happened. So in the first month, I just about knew how to put pieces together. And then I learned how to put a transition in, and then I learned how to add captions the following month. And it was a week by week kind of growing process. But in terms of filming, I started off with, and I've still been using my iPhone. It's right here. And to be honest, I think a lot of the phones that we get nowadays, the quality it's not the same as a DSLR, a fancy camera, but it's good enough for me, and it's good enough for being used to put on YouTube and Facebook, which is what we've been doing. And so yeah, it's always been my iPhone. I think when it's too professional, so something that we wanted to do is make sure that our kids or other families could get involved as well. And I think when someone sees something too professional, it puts them off. It's oh well, when I record a video, it's not going to look like that. So I wanted to sort of keep it so that it was accessible, so that if I wanted to get kids to read a Bible verse, or if I wanted to get a family to do a game or whatever, they felt that they could do their part. And so that's why I've another reason why I've kept it to use my iPhone. And also it, when we first started off, the quality of our equipment in terms of I didn't get a tripod until October. Mind you, lockdown started in March. So all through summer, in terms of tripods, we were at home. So I was using bins, I was using boxes. I've literally got right here the salt shaker that I use to hold up my phone for the majority of what we were recording. I'd literally have it propped up on a box and then have the phone leaning on it like that. It was, honestly, that is the reality of what we were living through. And so that's what I did. And then eventually in October, off Amazon, actually, I want to say there's other platforms you can buy tripods for, just to put that disclaimer out there. But online, £20, and I finally got a tripod, and it saved my life. I've not been using the salt shaker. I do miss it. I'm not going to lie.
Salt shaker.
I know, we became good friends. But after a while, with this tripod, it was so helpful. I could take it different places. And so, yeah, in terms of equipment, it's literally my phone, that tripod, and kind of we've been moving all over the place. And then with the editing, I've got a MacBook, so I've used iMovie, and iMovie is really easy for me. It's drag and drop. Like I said, every week I'd like add a little bit. I'd learn something new. But to start off with, it was just drag and drop. I learned how to put slides on later on down the line. I learned how to add pictures, how to add transitions. But to start off with, it was literally drag and drop the clip and then cut the ends off. That's literally what we did.
There seems to be like an ongoing theme of literally using what's in your hands. And if you check out Naomi's content, she says she's not an expert and she's just using an iPhone and editing through iMovie, but the content is great. And I'm sure your kids are being blessed by what you're putting out. So great job, Naomi. It's awesome.
Thanks, Emma.
And Shiv. Hey, Shiv.
Hi.
Hey, so again, you've been putting out lots of online content midweek, Sunday content, and there's a few times where you did like a DJ set. I don't really know what you would call it, a DJ dance party. And I'm not gonna lie, I had that blaring full volume, loving life. I may not be a child, but I still very much enjoyed your DJ dance party.
Yeah.
So like following on from what Naomi was just saying, do you have any ways that you can share with people to add variation to their videos so they're not the same every week? And is there anything that you would suggest to keep familiar? So sometimes obviously it's good to have the same thing each week, but it's also good to have difference. Because I know that you've been doing, as I say, midweek stuff and Sunday stuff. So what sort of things would you suggest for those two things?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of structuring how you do things, like when we started, just like Em said, we literally got launched into this world of online church, and like no training, no like, oh, this is what you need to use. We literally had to do it by ourselves. And I just thought, okay, what would the kids like? What would the families appreciate during this time? What do we already do at church? So I kind of just structured an online session based on what we do at like kids church. So like a welcome, an introduction, praise and worship, an opening prayer, a game, and then a short and snappy lesson. And then when it came to like the summer Wednesday clubs and the half-term clubs, just doing like short bites, just fun activities and games. And I'd say in terms of keeping things consistent and familiar, just doing what you usually do, but on an online form, like shortening things down, not having like a whole like 1 hour, 45-minute session, because you know a child's not going to sit through that the whole time. But things that I did to sort of switch it up was to include my families. I essentially do the filming and the editing, same like Naomi, using my iPhone, you know, and I found that, I'm wondering if people are getting bored of my face and bored of hearing my voice. So I remember just saying to some of the families that I'm quite like close with, saying, oh, how would your child like to get involved in the video? Like, let us know what they're doing in the week during lockdown. So we had a little segment called At Home With, and the kids would basically say, hi, this is what I've been doing during lockdown. And we carried on doing that throughout the year. But I thought, okay, how can I switch this up? Oh, let the kids tell us their prayer requests or you know, what their goals are for 2021. So having the families involved, I find, gave the kids an opportunity to see their peers, because at the time our church wasn't open, to see their friends and their peers, as well as having someone to identify with. Oh my gosh, there's a child, like when kids see kids, you see how they react, they just go crazy. So they always love the fact that they can see one another on the screen. And then like throughout summer, so I got married last August, and I realized that there would be a 4-week period where my mind just wouldn't be thinking straight. So I just called upon my good friends, other kids workers across Elim that I knew, and said, how would you like to speak at this session or this session? So just planned it well enough in advance, where I had, okay, we're going to do a series on Joseph, and it's called At the Fair, because Joseph had a roller coaster of a life. So how would you like to speak on this topic? And just had everything pre-recorded.
When you said about like keeping the content short, like it's really important to make sure that it's like relevant for the kids. So if you put on a two hour video session, it's not only a faff for you, but also is the child going to watch it for 2 hours? And also like what you said about like asking others for help. I think it's a really good example if you're going through stuff personally and you feel like you haven't got the capacity to put online kids church out. There is ways of doing it by drawing in other kids workers. Like there's like a bunch of amazing kids workers on this screen, and there's so many more out there that I'm sure would be happy for you to use their content to get involved. So yeah, that's awesome, Shiv. Thank you so much for sharing that that wisdom. One of the things that a lot of people have been asking is about the copyright on songs and how they use songs within their video contents. And this is obviously something that I've had to go through as a process, and a lot of us have had to go through on a process of using. And I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of clarification on that to the best of my ability. So firstly, there's something called a CCLI license. That your church most probably has, and it's really important that you check that your church has this CCLI license, because this covers you to perform worship songs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can use the track of the song, and that's okay, but it does mean that you can play the song yourself through instruments live. So even when you cover the song and you play it with your own band, it will come up that it can't be monetized. And that basically means that you don't own the copyright of the song, but it's okay to use, because if you've got the CCLI license, this will cover the usage of it. So when you upload it on, and it's like not the actual track, but a band's playing, you will get like a monetization notification. But if you've got the CCLI license, that's okay for you to use. CCLI, as I say, however, doesn't cover you to play the actual song by the artist. So what I would recommend, and this is like really difficult because we're all in different church contexts, but if you have the ability to live record your worship with a band or acoustically, this is probably your best way of overcoming copyright and using all different kinds of kids worship songs. And I would also suggest, like, if your church is creating those contents, those video contents, like ask them if you can have a copy of that to put into your videos as well, because I think that is so easy to think, kids songs, it has to be like cheesy kids songs. And don't get me wrong, we love a bit of cheese, but also kids can worship through the songs that adults do. So there may be some songs that your adult church are using that you can kind of tap into and put into your videos as well. Also, another thing that you can do is, there are some artists out there who are happy for you to use their worship songs. So the best way to do that is by contacting them personally, contact the label or the artist, and just ask for permission to use the songs. And if you don't reply to them, I would probably recommend not using it, because you don't want to break any copyright rules. But there are some people who will respond saying, yeah, that's absolutely fine for this season, I'm happy for you to use them. And some of these artists that I can mention on here that I know are happy for tracks to be used is Elim Sound, Coventry Elim Kids. So here at Elim Coventry, we've got an EP and some singles we've released, and we've also got an album coming out, hopefully in April, May time. So you're more than happy to use the songs on those tracks. And also Shell Paris has also given permission for you to use her songs. You can find all of these on social media. And also in a different context, in terms of wanting to use videos and not songs, Saddleback Kids offer out free resources that you can use without any copyright issues on your platforms. So one of the golden rules that I would say just within all of this is that if you need to use music for a video, use a copyright or royalty-free sound clip or music, and you can find these on Epidemic Sound or Audio Jungle. You can also go onto YouTube, and they have some music on there that you can use for free, a free audio resource. Or if you've got the time and the ability, you can write your own songs. So I don't know if anyone has anything else to add on to that. Does anyone have anything to add, or any personal experiences in using songs on copyright issues? Go on, Sam, go for it.
It's not so much song, but I for our holiday club that I talked about earlier, I wanted to use some of the Saddleback animation, and I managed to email them and get in contact with the person who basically said we could use their animations during this time, as long as we credited them in the kind of description.
Yeah.
So I think it's key just to email these people, like get a contact and just ask. Like, if you don't ask, you don't get. That's my motto.
Yeah, and that's a good point actually, Sam. That make sure if you're using someone else's content to credit them in your comments, and make sure you say who the song is by and whatever video content. So that's like a really good point there. So Sam, while we're on you, let's ask you another question.
Go for it.
So how do you keep your parents updated with what you're doing online? And have you seen any benefits from using online platforms such as Facebook or Instagram? So yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I quickly realised within a few months of lockdown that last year, it feels so long ago, that actually parents are inundated with emails, like sick of email. I mean, I remember speaking to a parent like back in kind of April, May time, and they were like, I get 3 emails from my one kid's school a day. And I think if parents with multiple children were getting just hundreds of emails a month. So we were sending out a lot of emails, and then we kind of over time condensed that into kind of a weekly email with everything on. I'm of the opinion, just use everything. Like for me, I'm like, you know, I've got parents that are only on Instagram, they're not on Facebook, and they don't check emails. I've got other parents that are on Facebook that don't do Instagram and don't want to read my emails. So for me, I just go with the philosophy of if it's important. So, you know, this Sunday we've got a Kids Tribes Live, which is basically our family service. I will put that on everything. So that has gone into emails. We will put that on Insta Story. We will put that on Instagram. We will put that on Facebook. We don't tend to do Twitter because I found a lot of parents aren't really on that. But if you've got that, then yeah, I would just say create. It's really easy to create a kids. So we've just got Life Central Kids on Facebook, a page that you can like. We've got an Instagram account that you can follow. But yeah, I'm of the mindset just get it out there. And I think there's so much being bombarded at parents at the moment. That actually your stuff can be, you know, like as a kids worker, my events and my holiday club and my kids sessions are top of my priority. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, Jane, who's in my church with 4 kids and she's homeschooling all 4 of them and she's trying to work her job. My email about our family service on Sunday is not top of her priority. And so for me, the more you can do and just repeat.
So Mim, can I come back to you a minute? We were talking earlier about your crazy superhero things that you've been doing and stuff. Can you just give us a little bit of context again on that? And where did your inspiration come from? And when you think about the content that you're putting out there, how do you go about planning what you put in your content? Because I know that there's so much out there, and I've had a few also emails of people saying, what do I use? Like, what can I use online? Like, how can I do this? And so what advice would you give? What's your process in the content that you use for your kids?
Great question. So we have broadened definitely what we would have been able to do in the building by filming online. But we've taken the same heart, which is we just want the kids to fall in love with the Bible. We just want them to realize that actually the Bible is the key to survival, as one of our superhero episodes says. So we want, you know, to implant the kids that actually this is where they need to go for their whole lives. Even as adults, we go to the Bible because it's the key to survival. So basically the Bible is our biggest inspiration. Cheesy, I know, forgive me, but it is. And so we just thought about, so I've been working closely with Jason Ham and our associate pastor, Nigel Williams. They've been incredible during this time. And having Nige in particular, who has the theological stuff that maybe quite a lot of us kids workers may not have, has been brilliant. So I've kind of taken ideas to them and gone, I'd love us to do the book of John, or at the moment we're having so much fun doing a bizarre Bible story series, and just thinking outside the box a little bit of what we could possibly do on a Sunday if we were in the building, and just branching out and just trying stuff and making the Bible come alive. We're not, you know, as everyone said, we're not the slickest, we're not the most professional, we're on iPhones, we're giving it a go. But I think with the kids seeing us having fun with it helps them realise it's really cool, it's really fun. The Bizarre Bible Story series, we're literally looking at the ones that we'd never really cover on a Sunday. So we've had Balaam a talking donkey, we've had popcorn flying through the air to talk about manna and God's provision. We've done Lot's wife turn into a pillar of salt. We've got the guy that we've nicknamed Eddie that falls out the window during one of Paul's sermons and dies, and then it's just brought back to life again. All these bizarre Bible stories that actually just bring it alive and make kids want to dive into it, to go, I'm sorry, there's a talking donkey in the Bible. So we're just trying to get to just bring inspiration to the kids to go, this is really fun.
Yeah, I love that. I think of like making the Bible come alive. And I know like a lot of kids workers, they use things like object lessons when they do in-person kids church. So you could totally do object lessons online as well. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing the same things you're doing in person on a video, and it feels a bit weird because you're kind of just talking to the screen. But firstly, you get used to it, and secondly, like you can never underestimate the impact of what you are actually doing on a child, even if you're just reaching one child and impacting one child. Like that in itself is amazing. So yeah, and I would also like add on to that, one of the things when I'm have a block of what to teach, I find out what is going on in the adult church. So I'll speak to my pastor and I say, like, what are you doing with the adults this kind of season? And I'll sometimes do a series which is the same as what they are doing, and that offers many benefits in the sense of you can get the content, like the main content, off of the pastor, so he's involved with what you're doing, and also it allows the parents to talk about what the children have done, because they've had their teaching and then the children have had their teaching on the same thing, and they can come together and have a discussion around it, and you can just be creative in that. And also I think there's something really powerful about the children going with the same theme as the adults, because actually the children are not separate. The children are just as much a part of the church as the adults, and that's why, like, I called it adult church and not the main church, because there is no main church. There's adult church, kids church, and they're all part of one church. So yeah, tap into what your adults are doing in the service, and that's also a good thing I would suggest to do. So Shiv, you mentioned earlier about like the variety of making kids church different each week and how to make that different. And I know that when I've watched some of your content, you've used the legendary green screens and the sound effects and the people cheering, going woo, the little kids. I love that little sound effect. So can you just like let us know a little bit about some of those additional extras that people can use in their editing?
Yeah, sure. So again, I'm not an expert at all, but I grew up watching kids TV, and I know what I would like as a child or what I would have liked. So I thought, okay, what would make the kids like laugh watching me on the screen? And that includes me embarrassing myself and being crazy and silly, which I don't mind doing. But in terms of sound effects, like if I do something silly, you know, like a raspberry sound or like a glass smashing when I throw something out. So I've learned how to use these things just on the editing software, just through watching YouTube. So if I want to like switch things up, I'll go onto YouTube and just type how to do this, and I literally watch like a 20-minute video and then learn how to do it. In terms of green screen, that was more of a new development from like around last August. When we got thrown into lockdown, I was literally using my iPhone and then a ring light, and I was just sitting at my table and just doing a lot of this and a lot of like, you know, just the little screen, using my hands and stuff. But then I thought, how do I switch things up? Then I had a little puppet, and then I realized like I'm not the best with the puppet. And I thought, okay, let's try something new. So I got a green screen, again, something cheap from Amazon. And I literally went on YouTube to learn how to use the green screen and how to do my sessions like that. And I just found that it kind of brought things alive. So when I do my object lessons, like you shared, I use our series right now as an example. We're doing a series called Ingredients of a Godly Lifestyle. And every week we're learning about a new ingredient. So last week was a cup of faith. And then we've had like a spoonful of confidence. And I just basically changed the green screen. I might say something about, I don't know, pancakes, and then I'll go like this, and then the green screen will change, and there's pancakes behind me. And for the kids, they're like, wow, you know, this is amazing. And just making things really animated and silly.
When you drop something, having a crash, or having like people like laughing or whatever, like it's that's awesome. Yeah, thanks for that, Shiv. So some of you that I've spoken to have been asking a lot about schools and how you can do schools ministry in this time, which is a really great question, because we can't go into schools and obviously it's out of the walls of the church. But we are blessed to have again Em here, who is part of some, who runs a ministry called Inspire Schools with her husband Martin, which is an amazing ministry. Yeah, round of applause, round of applause. And they've been doing an incredible job at continuing to reach into schools ministries in this time. So Em, could you just like share some of the things that you've been doing? Anyone who is looking to continue reaching into schools, or even start reaching into schools during this pandemic, like what would you say?
Yeah, I think first lockdown, it was about being sensitive to the challenges that had also been thrown at the school. You know, I've got close connections as a governor of a local school, and I know the challenges that they were facing, adapting, you know, catering for children at home. It was all very new. They were facing some of the similar challenges we're facing now, but to continue education. And so it was being sensitive. So in the first lockdown, we probably didn't do very much at all. And then after the summer, then we went into phased returns. There were some classes back in, there were some children back at home. And it was really okay. Now we're learning differently. We're learning in our bubbles. We still can't physically come in and do a corporate worship or assembly in a hall, because children just weren't meeting together, even though they were back in school together like that. And it was the same thing really about how can you keep that relationship going, how you can keep the communication going, and how we could support our friends in school, our teachers and school leaders, who were really, you know, up against it, and facing all kinds of challenges again, and adapting. And so we contacted our schools and said, look, we can't do it how we were doing it before. It's this adapting thing all the time, isn't it? What were we doing and how can we do it now? Because anything's better than nothing. And we contacted our schools and said, look, how about we film, because we were kind of getting used to this filming thing now. We could probably realistically, alongside everything else that's going on, film maybe 3 assemblies for you every half term. We'll send them to you as a school and you can then use them however you wish. So if you want to watch them on the screen in the classroom, in your bubbles, you can do that. If you have classes out isolating, send them the link, they can watch it at home. I don't think we appreciate sometimes just how far it's reaching out. And not only has that been good for the kids and for their families, because it's just nice to see another face that you don't see all the time. We were a bit worried because it was yet another Zoom, and so much of school's already on Zoom. But it's just different and it's funny. And of course we're silly. And it keeps that relationship going as well. And we get kids saying, you know, we saw you the other day. It's just really nice. And for the teachers, it's a real blessing, because that gives them a lesson, a 20-minute slot, whenever they want to use it, where they can just catch the breath and do something else that they need to be doing, because they're working so hard at the minute. That's so true. I love what you said about like maintaining relationship and communication, and how you found that like the parents are now seeing what you're doing when you're coming into the school. So again, it's that further reach, isn't it, of what you're doing. And I would say, if you have
any questions on schools ministry, I'm sure she won't mind me saying, but just search like Inspire Schools on Facebook, and I'm sure Emma Martin would be more than happy to answer any questions that you have and give some more wisdom in that area. So we haven't got much time left. I've got one more question for Naomi, and then I'm just going to throw it out there for everybody. So Naomi, I know that you've been using Zoom for some of your teaching, and Zoom is something that a few of us have touched on in what we've been saying. But some of us watching may not be Zoom savvy, as they may say, and actually know how can you teach kids on Zoom, because it's not made for Zoom. So can you just like give us a little bit of like context in that of how you've used Zoom, how you structured it, how long you've done it for?
So like with everything else in lockdown, it was trial and improvement, and I think when we first started off using Zoom, so it took a while for us to get onto Zoom, I think, with the kids. At first it was like videos upon videos upon videos, and then what we realized was that there was not really much contact, and the contact we were having was like commenting from like a YouTube live. It was just the commenting, but actually we didn't really know whether what we were saying was reaching the kids, and so we kind of like have had to transition into using more platforms, hence the Zoom. So then Zoom came about, and we started off actually, so I want to set another disclaimer. I am all for something called godly theft, and that means stealing ideas from children's workers. So I'm definitely going to be rewatching this. Honestly, I'm going to be rewatching this and then like writing down and like, oh yeah, we need to do a holiday club. That was great time. Oh yeah, we're going to be doing like the bizarre Bible stories. Totally stealing ideas. So anyway, I know that Emma was doing Zoom calls with her older kids, as like, I think you call them encounter nights. I'm not sure, Emma, I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, encounter nights.
Yeah, and it kind of like sparked an idea in my head, because what I realized is that because of the lockdown, like our year sixes were transitioning into secondary school, and for months hadn't really had an interaction with us as the kids team, hadn't had any kind of like taster or any kind of anything really in terms of transitioning into youth. And so we decided, okay, we'll start off with using Zoom for our year 5s and 6s. And it was just this, it just became this space where they could go a little bit deeper, where they could ask the harder questions. And ultimately, it was just for us as a team to check in on them and to see how they were doing in the lockdown, to see, so like one of the things that we did was to, one of the things I realized, sadly, is that our kids didn't know how to navigate their way through the Bible. And so we did a series, I think it was for about 4 weeks or 6 weeks, where it's like, okay, this is the Bible. It's split up into different parts. There's different types of writing in the Bible, but little like Bible study things with the kids, because what like God sort of dropped in my heart was like, you need to be equipping them for the next stage in their life. And so we had that interaction. Yes, it wasn't the same as, meeting in person, but it was using technology to our advantage. And so we did that. And I think obviously you want to throw some games in there. So if you've used Zoom, I'm pretty sure at this point you've done a scavenger hunt. I'm all scavenger hunt.
Oh my days.
Oh, I'm scavenger hunted out. But it was incorporating games, incorporating something that God has spoken to me about recently as well is encouraging leadership within kids. So on Zoom, I gave kids the opportunity to lead us in a prayer. I gave kids the opportunity to share testimonies. I gave them to opportunities to lead us in a song. So it's doing what I would have done in person, had there not been a pandemic, and transferring that onto Zoom, so that what God wants to do, he can still do. I think I was part of another conference last week, and one of the most incredible things I heard is that God is not limited by a screen. He's not limited by a device. Actually, whether we're in the same room or not, God's going to move. And if he can move in this room where I am, he can move in the house of the children who are who are listening. And so yeah, I don't know, I'm getting a bit preachy now.
You preach it.
But yeah, like Zoom, I think it all comes down to using what you've got. So when it comes to Zoom, it was
year 5s and 6s, and then now we're kind of transitioning into using Zoom for our main church on a Sunday, because again, we want to like up the level of interaction that we have with the kids for real. So, and I love what Sam said, you know, when it came to the holiday club, about using the different forms of media. So he's using YouTube, he's doing the premiering, he's you know, back when we could meet, he's having that face-to-face contact when he's giving them the packs. So trying to like diversify what we do is kind of really important. So yeah, be creative.
Yeah, I think for me, Zoom has been so good for connection. So I've spoken to a few people about this in terms of God was speaking to me so much about connection over content, and we can go over and above to put out all of this content, which is amazing, but then we lose the relationship and the connection side of things. And what Zoom does is it allows you to have that connection and see the children. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of Zoom calls where you feel like you're talking to yourself. I've had many of those, and you come off and you're like, what is the point? Or where the kids all turn their cameras off and you don't actually know if they're there or they're playing Roblox or making some food or whatever. But again, you get to build that relationship and you get to build that content, and I've got so much to say on Zoom, and I'm sure you guys have got so much to say as well, but unfortunately we haven't got the time to go into Zoom properly. But again, if you have any questions on using Zoom, or any you want to know some creative ways that you can make it different, or worship through Zoom, or whatever it is, feel free to drop Limitless Kids an email, and we will more than happy help you with that and anything else that we've spoken about today. But before we end, I thought that it would just be like really good to maybe just hear a few testimonies of how Kids Church Online has impacted some of our families, because I think it's all well and good saying we're going to do this content, but sometimes it's also good to be inspired and encouraged that the content is making a difference. Can I just get a couple of you just to share one of those testimonies? So I'll throw it out there.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I don't know about everyone else, but I did have a panic in July when Zoom changed their details, and suddenly there was this whole thing of under 16s can't use Zoom. Thankfully, it was under 16s can't have their own account, so kids can use their parents' account, which was fine. So if anyone's panicking about that, it is okay. But yeah, I just want to share really about I think one of the hardest kids to engage with is kids with additional needs. It's been really hard for those families. We've got quite a few families with kids with additional needs at our church, and it's been really tough for them, like really tough. And I think like I've been doing some one-to-ones with a lad at our church who he won't engage with our Zoom small groups on a Sunday morning because there's just too many people. So back kind of summer into autumn time when we could meet, I was doing some one-to-ones socially distanced in their garden and going around and hanging out with him. But now that we're in this lockdown, I've been using Zoom. So we Zoom off his parents' account and we chat on Zoom. And actually one of the things that he's really into gaming. And so I suddenly had this idea, hang on, he got a Switch for Christmas. I've got a Switch. And so actually we play, with his parents' permission, we play Mario Kart online against each other. And we just chat while doing that. He's not the sort of lad that will sit and chat. So we have to be doing something while we're talking. And that's just been a real highlight for him. And I think I really encourage people just to think about, you know, kids with additional needs. What can you do one-to-one to support that family? You know, that 45 minutes to an hour that I spend with him is such a relief for his parents, and just a time for his mom to go and, you know, do some washing or just take an hour to herself. So I just really encourage people to think about that. How can you support families with additional needs, kids, maybe do some online one-to-one with kids? Yeah,
that's amazing. Mm-hmm. I love that, Sam. That's awesome. Like,
and he beats me. That's the word.
Of course. Does anyone else have any testimonies that they want to share? Yeah, go for it, Shiv.
Yeah, I'll share. I was going to say, in terms of like doing the online thing, just also to encourage people. Like, I know sometimes you might be watching the views or like how many people have seen it, and I just think just to encourage people not to focus. Like, I'm the person who I don't really care about views. Just, God, you're going to use this. So we pray over the lessons before we do them. And God, look, we believe that you can expand our reach. And just a quick testimony is that, like, often from last year to now, there were moments where I felt like, is is this even getting anywhere? You know, are the families watching? Are the kids watching? Like, I'm typing in the chat, you know, during the premiere, and nobody's responding. Like, what is the point? And I remember when we reopened our church doors and we started to do in-person services, kids' church still wasn't running, but it was online. And I remember someone came over and she's like, oh, you know, your videos are great. I send them to my family in America, and they're adults and they're watching it and they're learning so much about the Bible. And I've had other people saying that, you know, it's helped them to, you know, break down the Bible in a way that's relatable. And I'm thinking, this is just for kids. Like, why are you watching it? But it's, you know, making an impact. So to encourage people, like, you're not just doing it for like a, you know, to fill a role or to fill a title saying you're the kids pastor or whatever. You know, God can really expand your reach. And that's the beauty in this digital world that we're in at the moment. I had a family who I send the link to weekly, and she said, oh, you know, thank you so much. I sent it to my family in Zambia, and they watch it every Sunday. And now they've started their own kids' church. And she started to send me videos of what they're doing. And that, it just blew my mind, because God can expand your reach. It's not just, you know, for the small group or just for yourself. God will use it mightily. Some people might watch it a week later, a year later. So just to encourage people.
Yeah, amen. Like, I love that, expanding the reach. Like, that's so good that we're not just reaching our kids, is that we're actually helping to equip other kids workers as well, who not just in England as well, like overseas as well. So that's awesome, Shiv. I love that. So as we finish, I know that this is a digital conference, but I thought it'd just be worth saying that digitally is not the only way that you can reach your children and families within these restrictions. I think for me, I've never used the postal service so much in my life. And when you think about it, kids don't really have the opportunity to get something through the mail. So it's something exciting that they've got their name on something that they can receive, even if it's just some worksheets or something like that. And I really do believe that things like that and things that we're doing online, the doorstep visits, the phone calls and the FaceTimes, I really do believe that they're going to be things that our children remember as they grow up and continue their walks with God. They're going to be able to say to their grandchildren, I remember that time when I did church online, and they're going to be really significant moments that we may not even be able to see the fruit of. And I think that's really important for us to remember as children's workers, is that what we are doing is we are sowing a seed, and it's God that is going to make that seed grow in whatever method or platform that we use. And it's not for us to see that fruit, but that fruit will come. And it's like Moses, like leading the Israelites, like he led them, but he never actually saw them get to the promised land. And sometimes that's our job as children's workers, is to do what God has called us to do right now with what's in front of us, with what's in our hands, and allow him to move and grow in that. And I just want to encourage every children's worker who's watching this, no matter what you are doing, like, God sees you, he sees what you are doing, and he is so pleased with what you are doing. Like, don't compare yourself. Don't sit and watch this and think, oh, they're all doing an amazing job. Do not compare yourself. Comparison is a killer. Like, do not compare yourself. Look at what you are doing. Look at what God has called you to do, what he has placed in front of you, and run with that, with everything that you have. And I think it's really important also to not be afraid to ask for help. Like, there are many other children's workers who are in different stages of the journey. We're on the same journey, but on different stages that we can tap into. I've contacted many different people just asking for advice and for help and support.
Godly theft.
Woo! and even within your own context of your church, like, speak to your leadership, speak to your worship team, and see if they'll get on board. Like, we are one family. Like, you are not separate as kids. And I really feel like that needs to be broken. It's that kids is not over here and adults is over here. We are together. So this is a great opportunity for you to work with the leadership, work with your worship band, with your prayer team, with whatever it is in your church context, and work together. And finally, if you want to know any more on what we've been speaking about, or you have any questions, or just want to have a chat with someone on the same level, like, please feel free to, as I said earlier, email the Limitless Kids email at kids@limitlesselim.co.uk, and we would be more than happy to chat with you and help you answer any questions that we can. in starting online church or continuing online church. But keep going. You're doing a great job. And thank you for coming to this. Thank you for watching. And thank you again to Sam, Mim, Shiv, Naomi, and Emma for joining us. You've all been amazing. You're all doing a great job. I love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. And thank you for all of the wisdom and advice that you've given. But we'll see you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.